This is Great Britain, once one of the most powerful and largest economies in the world. At its peak, its empire covered nearly 1/4 of the world's land surface. But now it's in a state of decline. Since 2008, real wages, that is those adjusted for inflation, have fallen, meaning after nearly 15 years, the average wage in April 2023 was actually lower than that of February 2008. The cumulative effect of this is that the average worker has lost £10,700 per year. This is something which is unlikely to improve, as British households, already financially vulnerable when the pandemic struck, are now facing a prolonged recovery of living standards, as it's projected that household incomes might not return to their pre-pandemic levels until at least 2027. Following the pandemic, the country quickly plunged into a severe cost of living crisis, marked by the highest inflation in 4 decades. Despite the government's intervention with a £78 billion support package, widespread struggles persist, leading to unprecedented levels of homelessness, and a concern in households as roughly 1 in 10 are going without electricity or gas at least monthly, according to a poll by CAP UK. This stems from roughly 15 years of stagnant incomes coupled with significant income inequality, producing a productivity gap and causing a society which, combined with the cost of living squeeze, is teetering on the verge of collapse. This has fed a cycle of political chaos, as more dissatisfied citizens have elected increasingly populist leaders who have offered large promises but failed to deliver. Despite economic stagnation, life in the UK has been anything but normal, and the last decade has seen a number of pivotal changes for the UK's economy. 2016 saw the Brexit referendum, a major point in 21st century Britain, as the country voted to leave the EU after a tight 52% vote confirmed the decision. This has since sparked controversy on both sides, notably as many of the promises of the Leave campaign have not materialised. Whilst the effects of Brexit have not been as bad as some anticipated, there are still many sectors suffering as a consequence. Lots of industries have been particularly hard hit. Car manufacturing is operating at its lowest output in 66 years, a figure which is more than half the pre-Brexit peak output. Other industries such as fishing and manufacturing have also been hard hit. These jobs tend to be occupied by those with lower incomes, further deepening existing inequalities. The country has also seen 4 prime ministers in the space of 5 years under the Conservative Party, a figure that is unheard of in modern Western democracies. Frequent changes in leadership have of course caused some decisions which have negatively impacted the UK economy, notably Liz Truss's budget, characterised by significant tax cuts and borrowing leading to immediate economic turbulence. This caused the pound to drop to a 37-year low against the dollar and a spike in government borrowing costs, with 10-year gilt yields rising at their fastest rate since 1998. This and other decisions taken over the last 13 years has made this government the worst on record for real household income growth. All of these events have perpetuated the UK's economic decline. Mismanagement of the country has deepened geographical divides, evident as the richest local authority, Kensington and Chelsea, has an income per person 4.5 times greater than that of the poorest, Nottingham. Many Britons like to view the country as on par with other European powerhouses like France and Germany. Whilst this is true for stats like GDP and average income, this is largely reflective of those in the upper income and wealth brackets, perhaps reflecting the mindset of a fallen power. However, for the average UK citizen, they are now 20% poorer than that in Germany and France, whilst lower income individuals are 27% poorer. Before we continue, it's worth noting that lots of my research and stats for this video come from this paper here by the Resolution Foundation, in addition to other sources. I will leave a link in the description to the paper and highly recommend reading it if you are interested in the topic. To understand Britain's current predicament, it requires a brief look at its past. Once a global powerhouse during the Industrial Revolution, Britain led the world in technological advancements like the steam engine and extensive railway networks. This era, along with the expansion of the British Empire, laid the foundation for its economic dominance through control of international trade and access to global resources. However, 2 world wars shifted Britain's focus to war-related production, leading to substantial national debt. The post-war period saw significant changes, including the rise of the welfare state, the creation of the National Health Service, and nationalisation of key industries. This transition was not without challenges. The shift away from an industrial-based economy in the 1970s was marked by industrial decline, labour unrest, and a move towards a service-oriented economy. These shifts, particularly under Thatcher's policies of deregulation and privatisation, resulted in the decline of traditional industries and a growing regional disparity. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the UK had embraced a more globalised, service-oriented economy, focusing on sectors like finance, business services, and the creative industries. This shift initially brought about economic growth and prosperity, and the UK started to catch up with more productive economies like France, Germany, and the US. The service sector, while prosperous, did not provide the broad-based employment that the industrial sector had, and it caused widespread job loss in areas like heavy industry and mining. This shift led to rising income inequality, a trend mirrored in the UK's Gini coefficient, which measures the income gap between the wealthiest and the poorest. The financial crisis of 2008 further exposed and exacerbated these underlying weaknesses in Britain's economic model, revealing an over-reliance on financial services and a lack of adequate investment in vital sectors such as education, regional infrastructure, and healthcare. The famed National Health Service, one of the first free national healthcare providers, is now suffering from underinvestment and an ageing population, meaning fewer people can be seen as wait times have doubled since 2014. As Britain entered the 2020s, grappling with a legacy of its transition from an industrial to service-based economy, a key challenge has emerged: a significant slowdown in productivity growth. Productivity is the efficiency with which goods and services are produced, and it's crucial as it drives improvements in living standards, supports higher wages, and underpins a competitive economy. Productivity is typically measured as output per unit of input, such as labour or capital, and high productivity means more is produced with the same resources, which is essential for economic growth. Since the financial crisis in 2008, the UK has faced a stark productivity slowdown. Prior to this, productivity was growing at about 2% annually. However, post-crisis, this growth has nearly flatlined. Notably, there has been a significant decrease in investment. Since 2005, UK companies have invested 20% less than their counterparts in the US, France, and Germany, placing Britain in the bottom 10% of OECD countries. This underinvestment has resulted in outdated technology and equipment, reduced innovation, and a shortfall in skill development across both industrial and service sectors. Consequently, the overall efficiency and innovative growth capacity of the UK economy have suffered, leading to slower productivity growth. Compounding this issue is a mismatch and underutilisation of the workforce's skills. A considerable proportion of young people in the UK, almost a third, are not engaged in education by age 18, a higher rate than in countries like France and Germany. This gap leads to a workforce that is often inadequately prepared for high-skilled jobs, which are critical in a modern, knowledge-based economy. In addition to this, the post-2008 economic landscape has seen an increase in low-skilled, part-time jobs, which further detracts from productivity. These roles provide fewer opportunities for skill development and career advancement. Austerity measures and public spending cuts have also constricted government investment in crucial areas like infrastructure and technology, essential for productivity improvements. Declining productivity has also allowed income inequality to persist and deepen. In the UK, the gap between the rich and the poor is wider than in any other large European country, a gap which has been growing since the 1980s.